Hello, beautiful people. Hello. I am so excited to be here with you guys. It's been a crazy day, filled with excitement, filled with opportunity, filled with great news. So I'm here to not only celebrate with you, but also to read with you. And one of the chapters that we're going to be really digging deep in is that we have been digging deep is Chapter 8, Manufacturing and Packaging for Invent It, Sell It, Bank It by Lori Greiner. I'm telling you, this book has been really good because as an entrepreneur, okay, as a business owner, as an investor that has, been focused on just digital assets, digital products, digital businesses, it's really refreshing to hear something from a different perspective, especially when it comes from physical products because of all the work that goes into physical products. It's crazy. So it gives you a sense of gratitude when you don't have to deal with none of that. So, every little word where she's like, I have to look at the stitching or the glue or the wood I'm like, girl, thank the Lord, I don't have to deal with that. So if you're also in the digital world, big ups to us. And if you are in the physical world, I mean, much respect to you. So let's get into it. This is part 2 of chapter 8. We're going to get into the packaging. So shall we? You want to work with a reputable, responsible manufacturer because you want to make sure that your customers have the best possible experience when they buy your product. But equally important is the experience your customers have with your product before the point of purchase. Your packaging is a stand-in for you, selling your product when you're not around to demonstrate and explain its qualities and benefits. So in the same way that the opening line of your pitch must be carefully crafted to engage and intrigue a buyer or investor, your package must telegraph everything you want people to know about your product in a single glance. It is what speaks to your consumer at the moment of truth, the point of sale. When customers stand in front of a retail shelf and see your product lined up along with all the other competitors vying for attention, it should be say, hey, choose me. I'm just what you need. Here is why. That's what your packaging should say. Package design is a science, tapping into human emotions and even reinforcing consumers' feelings about themselves. Tools are usually packaged in such a way that whoever picks them up feels a little bit handier, a little more confident that they really can build that deck in the backyard. Computers, mobile devices, and their respective accessories are often sleek and compact, appealing to a contemporary minimalist aesthetic that makes buyers feel like they're just a little bit cooler than they were before they made that purchase. Cosmetic and fragrance companies spend a fortune designing packaging that makes women feel beautiful and elegant when they buy a jar of cream or a bottle of perfume. Everything about your packaging, from its size and shape to the colors, to the image to the front, the text, its placement, even the font will actually matter and will have to convey your product's key selling points like a shot to your consumer's heart. Here's a couple different types of packaging. There are several types of packaging. In brick and mortar stores, you generally see consumer goods packaged in hang tags, clamshells, or blister packs that hangs off rods, while larger items like vacuum cleaners, food processors, and jewelry boxes come in 4-color boxes that reside on shelves. The design of these boxes often follow the same general formula: a big image of the product, a brand name, and a description. Key to great packaging is gorgeous, informative visuals that immediately convey what your product is and how it works. Be careful not to add too many bells and whistles that could distract from your product, which should be the star of the show. Oh my gosh, You want to know something? If you know something about Ivy Leads, if you are part of Ivy Leads, if you know exactly what we do at Ivy Leads, this is literally the 7-figure funnel. What she's talking about at the beginning, she's like, be careful not to add many bells and whistles that could distract from your product. And it has to have a big image of the product, the brand name, and the description. That is the first section of your website. So the first time that someone goes into your website and is or your 7-figure funnel, it literally has to grab the attention. It always has to have a person, it has to have a really strong tagline, and most importantly, it has to have one call to action. So I'm so pumped that she says this. It's like physical and digital come together. This chapter has been so crazy for me because I see both the digital and also the physical. So I see it both very, very clear. Okay. Do not expect anyone to read more than a few words. Your text is there to supplement your visuals and explain your value proposition in a way that your picture of your product cannot. So less is more nowadays, and frequently consumer brands are creating beautiful, sophisticated packaging that speaks volumes with very, very little text. That's why I always do a photo shoot. Get clear, crisp images of yourself, because if you're a coach, if you are working with people, the first thing that people need to see is people. And if you are the one that they're going to be speaking to, you are the product. You are what is selling. Okay. So make sure to get a photo shoot. Lord have mercy. If you can send a powerful message about the product inside the box with a bright punch of color or minimalist white or a playful or dramatic font, a clever shape can get you noticed, but it can also work against you. So for example, Shark Tank entrepreneurs Hannah and Mark Lim met with initial enthusiasm with big box stores for their innovative sippy cup. But then they ran into a problem when the stores questioned whether the cute but folded paper bag shaped packaging would actually allow them to fit enough product on the shelves. Jordan Eisenberg, founder of the Urgent RX, had to get creative to solve a problem caused by this product's unusual packaging. His single dose packets of flavored powdered versions of over-the-counter medicines couldn't get placements in pharmacies until he created his own custom-made display units that took full advantage of unused space at the checkout counter. As always, you have to do your own research when deciding what kind of packaging to use. Visit the retailers to sell your market and look at what styles are currently popular, what appeals to you, what catches your eye. Big brands pay hundreds of thousands of dollars of market research dollars when designing their packaging. You can learn from them in their packaging when you see how they marketed their products. What colors are they using? What images? What styles? Analyze why the package was appealing to you or why it caught your eye. So one of the rules of thumb, whenever we're creating a site, okay, the first banner, the first section is always going to be a picture of that person, a picture smiling, really great, enthusiasm, like one of those like pictures, or like pointing to something. It has to make sense, both on mobile version and also on desktop. But then she's talking about something so important. The reason we paid I think it was like over 50 grand for our brand, like our logo, our colors, our fonts, the banners, all those stuff, right? And then whenever we create websites and all that stuff, obviously we charge a premium because we know what we're doing. But at the same time, people don't understand that sometimes a coach that might be, doing something more with corporate, they might be using too bright colors, and corporate people are not attracted to that. Or maybe they have a more female dominant audience, but their colors and their fonts and their style is way too masculine and it's not attracting the female audience. And so when we were actually looking at our brand, we set up 3 different our ideal clients. You know, what do they have in common? Where do they shop? How do they dress? What is it that they believe in? What type of shirt do they wear? What kind of coffee do they even think of? How do they laugh? What kind of laugh do they have? What kind of things are they appreciative about? So like dig deeper into that and then find examples of that. Go to Pinterest, invest freaking one day, okay, of your life on just Pinterest and building out that whole vibe. Once you get that vibe in, then you can dissect 4 to 6 different unique colors. Ideally, it's a matter of 3, but just get 6 and then you can narrow it down to 3, you know, because you need selections to make it narrower and narrower. Okay. Once you get the colors, then look at the branding. So like if you look at Cartier, if you look at Louis Vuitton, if you look at um, Tom Ford, okay, David Yurman, okay, when you look at Boeing or when you look at Britling, like all those brands have very unique fonts and they've paid a fortune for those fonts. So what we've decided to do is go in between all of those fonts that we found that we really love, that we personally invest in as consumers. And then we're like, okay, we really like this. So that's how we were able to get our fonts. But we actually hired an expert to actually do all that research, to put all of that in context and to actually deliver it already done. So I heavily encourage you to do the research, because what she just said right there, what catches your eye, what big brands pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in research dollars when designing their packaging, it's no easy task. So invest in yourself, invest in your brand, because if you want to look like an expert, you got to look like an expert. Okay. Well, you don't want to copy them. You should pay attention to what they're doing and why they use the style that they use to actually sell their product. So for example, often they will use a large photo of the product to explain what is instead of a lot of wording. There's a reason for that. People don't take the time to read a lot of words on a page. Yes, they need to be able to see the product and immediately understand it. They don't like busy packaging with a lot going on and a lot of text. They just don't take the time to decipher it. My philosophy is that packaging should be clean and use great images to tell the product story. I imagine myself rushing down the aisle and then I think, what caught my attention in the shelf? What did I notice? Did I instantly understand what the product is? Did it make me want to buy it? As discussed, historically, retailers didn't like dealing with inventors selling just one SKU or SKU, but recently stores are showing more willingness to work with entrepreneurs, going so far as to develop initiatives to help them to start. Walmart, for example, started the Get on the Shelf contest, and QVC has the Sprouts program. Retailers can often recommend packages and packagers, and in turn, the packagers will probably give you the names of printers with whom they do business. Here's more on package design. When it comes to actually designing your packaging, unless you have a graphic design background, you'll want to hire a professional to help you create something unique, enticing, and effective. Get referrals if you can. If not, most graphic designers have their portfolios available for your revision on the internet. So try to choose one with experience in package design, although expect the fee to be high end. If you hire someone who has designed for very successful big brands and products. So if you're on a budget, you should also opt to work with a crowdsourcing company such as Design Crowd that allows you to post your product and receive bids from designers from the world, or Upwork. Okay, I said this in the other video for chapter 8 part 1. Upwork, you can go in there, get bids like crazy, and you can be very, the more specific that you are with your job post and the requirements and the expectations and the delivery methods that you want, that you require, the more quality people will actually submit their proposals for you. But it's also for you to actually defer which ones you want. The internet can give you access to fantastic talent at extremely affordable rates. The disadvantage, of course, is that more often than not, you won't be able to meet your designers in person. Indeed. Regardless, the most important thing to look for in graphic designers, besides talent, is whether they understand your product and seem excited and intrigued by it. Once you hire your photographer and graphic designer, make sure that you are clear about your vision. It's very, very hard for graphic designers and artists to work when they don't even have an idea what you want. So being specific makes their jobs a lot easier. Agreed. In addition, when the day comes that people can read your mind, that's going to be crazy, because that's typically what happens. It's like, I want this and this and that. And then it's like, do you have 3 colors that you like? And it's like all the primary colors. So again, that exercise for Pinterest is so, so, so helpful. In addition, time is money, and if you don't stay involved, your designers may inadvertently take things in a direction you didn't want to go, and then you'll have to start all over again. That can cost you dearly. I trusted my designers, but I stayed close while they worked, attending the photo shoots, propping my organizer with earrings, offering my thoughts on design, layout, and even fonts. I was on a budget, so I hired a relative newcomer to the field who had an impressive portfolio but little experience with packaging. She did a good job, but because she hadn't yet been around the block enough to recognize the red flags, she couldn't anticipate what was coming next. And I want to highlight that because I love that word. She couldn't anticipate. And honestly, that word anticipate is what I feel a true expert does for you. If you hire a new person, like a brand new VA that says that they're a good VA, or if you hire a company that says, hey, we have the right systems that can help you streamline your business, well, okay, can you anticipate the problems that will occur? Can you solve those problems before they even happen? Are you able to start the process to avoid those problems? Like, what's the risk associated to that? And that's so, so important, always vet that person. Can you anticipate the problems that will happen? Can you let me know what those problems will be? Can you be more transparent with those problems, and how can I assert them? All those things take courage to ask, and it takes experience to know. Okay, it took me hours to select and hang all the beautiful earrings on the organizer when I was prepping it for packaging for photo shoot. I used all of my own stuff so I wouldn't have to buy 50 new pairs of earrings. Since my organizer was clear plastic, I thought setting it against a dark background would make it pop. I told the graphic designer to design a black box. The end result was striking. The clear organizer looked beautiful against a glossy black background. The problem was, though, that none of us knew that it was extremely risky to work with such black ink. Any print job saturated with such a heavy concentration of color has a tendency to bleed, and black is the worst of them all. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened when the press operator wasn't paying attention during the print run. I managed to get the problem resolved. The details of the story appear in chapter 9, but from then on, at least in the early days, every time that the printer would do a run, I would actually stand by the printing press and watch the first sheets that came out to make sure the colors were true. I would sign off on one sheet that the printer kept, and I would take another one with me. This way, we would both have a sample to refer to for the remainder of the print run. We also do this to this day with product samples. They're never perfect the first time around. Once I get a first sample, I offer my feedback about what changes are needed. We go through several rounds to perfect the sample before it's finalized. Once it's approved and the final sample I've approved the final sample, my supplier keeps one, I keep one, and that's the sample the rest of the production should match. This is a common practice in manufacturing that ensures consistency. I learned my lesson from the printing disaster, and my team knows that to have the printer send us a proof before running a print job to make sure the colors are right is the right way to go. For the record, once we used up our thousands of black boxes, we switched the color to much lighter lavender blue, which eliminated the possibilities of the problem we'd face with the black ink. In addition, by then I had decided that the lavender was an even more attractive color to the female eye. I love that. I freaking love that she mentioned that, because it takes work to understand, like, what do people gravitate towards? Like, if I could redesign this book cover, I would, because I mean, the only thing that sold it was her. Okay, because I like her as a person, as an investor, as a business owner. I respect that, but the book is not attractive versus, I mean, this one. I mean, if you just see this book on the shelf, which one are you going to choose? Which one would you choose? I would choose this off the bat. It's so compact, it fits so nicely, it's so soft, the colors are amazing, and it even has the word love on it, and here all you see is bank it, and then you see her face. I would have changed this up a bit and using her style as a human being. I think it could be more attractive if it was done more to the audience long term. Okay, those are just my couple of feedbacks there, Lori. Okay, this is a common, packaging specifications. Okay, we're almost done here. This is literally the last paragraph here. Packaging specifications. You won't even necessarily need a 4-color box if your product is going to be sold online or through television channels. On QVC, for example, it's the demonstrability of a product that sells a product, not the aesthetic of its packaging, but anything that will travel through the mail or UPS will need to be packaged in a drop shippable box that can pass an 11-point drop test. Your product can be picked up and dropped 11 times from a distance of 30 inches to the concrete surface, landing on all corners, flat surfaces, and 2 edges, and not suffer any damage. These plain brown corrugated cartons vary in size and are measured in a number of flutes per linear foot. The most common one used for shipping purposes is the C flute. Your packager should be able to advise you on the best packaging option for your product, including whether to include additional immobilizers such as styrofoam end caps, bubble wrap, or even foam peanuts. Your retailer manual should explain all packaging and shipping requirements. QVC has a notoriously stinging quality assurance department that will not only allow a purchase order to go through until it has met all requirements, such as passing the 11-point drop test, displaying all the proper labels, and exhibiting all the documentation that the product complies with the necessary rules and regulations. Of course, they also insist on trying your product and making sure that it works the way that you say it will, and the product is in good condition and will leave their customers more than satisfied. Above all, be true to yourself. You want to be proud of every aspect of your invention. Don't settle until you're satisfied that your manufacturer, your designer, your printer, and your packager are all working together to make your product look its absolute best. And here's a quick manufacturing and packaging to-do list. Okay, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 checklists that you should actually attain. And this is literally the entire chapter. As I mentioned, this particular chapter has 2 sections. So make sure to check out part 1 of chapter 8. I'll read this very quickly. Compile lists of manufacturers with good reputations for producing goods in your product category. 2, if producing locally makes a point, if producing locally, make appointments to visit and meet the individuals who would be in charge of your product. 3, if producing overseas, contact testing labs to see if the factory you're interested in is in good standing and is socially responsible. Number 4, look for a representative who can source your product and negotiate on your behalf. Number 5, come up with a clear vision for how you want your packaging to look. Remain open to suggestions. 6, research and hire a graphic designer and photographer to create your packaging design. And then last but not least, work with a packaging company to make sure your package will secure your goods and pass an 11-point drop test if needed. Now, that was really, really powerful. And I'm glad that we went through this like incredible chapters, chapter 8, packaging and manufacturing, because if you are a digital company, you must understand the foundational important factors that come into having a physical product arrive into your door. Like the simple fact that this Sharpie, okay, it has the ability to uncap, and then I have the opportunity to like scribble all over, and it doesn't like damage me, like the smell doesn't damage my lungs. If it drops on the floor, it's not gonna melt away, like all these different things. Like it's so it gives you a sense of gratitude for all the amazing things that actually come into reality, because it all starts from the mind, right? So if you can think it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. And if you can hold it in your hands, it's a whole process to do so. So be grateful. That is my message for you. And I'm so happy and grateful now that we've ended chapter 8. Now, in chapter 9, which we're going to get into, it's a very short chapter, actually. It's probably the smallest chapter in the book, but it's all about driving the business. So I'll see you in the next video. It's going to be a good one. I have a feeling. I love the number 9. And I love business. So let's get into it, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.